Either way,
It's 2
why,
p.m.
I've been in touch with you since last week. Ready?
Yes. Calling the work session of the Site Plan Review Technical Advisory Committee meeting to order. First on the agenda, we have 360 Corporate Drive for site plan approval. Come on up and have a seat and introduce yourself.
Thank you for hearing us this morning. My name is Brian Jones with Allen & Major Associates. We are the civil engineers and the landscape architects for the project. There were supposed to be a couple other individuals with me today from Apex. They're the ones that have been coordinating with the city, but they had a flight problem, so it's just me. But we also have representatives from Peace Development Authority, Mike Mates, and another Mike? Mike Rogerson. I'm sure you guys know them better than I do. But the project is a surgical center at 360 Corporate Drive. It is a 3-story building. As you can see, we're kind of working with the site constraints, which are primarily 2 finger-like wetlands that extend from the back of the site to the front. We are honoring the 25-foot setback with no impact there, obviously no wetland filling. It has 2 areas of loading. The one on the right is your conventional deliveries, and it is set up to accommodate a large truck, a WB50, although that's probably not going to be the common vehicle going there. It's possible that it may. And that is a depressed loading dock. And then on the right of that is a smaller truck that's at grade that would be for FedEx deliveries, or if there's an ambulance, it is parking so that you can exit the building at the rear directly into an ambulance. On the left, that loading dock at the rear of the building is not a conventional loading. That is a portable MRI unit that would be on site periodically as needed, and that's delivered and then used for a series of appointments and then brought to another site. So it's pretty common with surgical centers to have this type of facility where you may not need an MRI equipment all the time, but you do sometimes, and you can simply bring it onto site now, and there are companies that provide that service. The back of the site, or the back of the building, has some hardscape that's up against the building in that elbow, the corner. That's envisioned as an outdoor patio area for employees and doctors and nurses and administration staff. And then just parking throughout, pretty conventional in the front and on the side for people who need surgery. That's the layout plan. We're not asking for any relief for zoning, so it complies with all the requirements. This set that we gave you, I believe the next sheet is a progress print of our grading and drainage, and this is not the final product. I think we're tweaking those chamber systems in the back. Probably they won't be quite that large, but what we're doing here is infiltration in the back, and then the front will have several smaller biofiltration units that outlet to the wetland areas. So it's pretty conventional. We did test pits out there. There's a lot of fill in the front, as you can imagine, for an existing disturbed site, but in the back it's pretty virgin in the woods. That's all I'll say about grading and drainage, unless there's questions. I think, did we include a utilities plan too? Yes. Mm-hmm. So the sewer, we're planning on exiting on the left. As you can see, that's a gravity connection to the sewer in International Drive. There's the sewer profile is on the sheet as well, so you can see what we're planning on doing. And then the remainder of the utilities will connect to Corporate Drive. That includes the water service and underground electric and tel data. Transformer is at the rear of the building on the right-hand side by the loading dock. Roof drains will tie into the subsurface systems that we have on the site. Did we include a landscape plan? I know that we've started. Oh, there's the tractor trailer movement. And on the right, where that is the conventional loading dock, that WB50 movement stays within the drive aisle, doesn't need to cross over any parking. The MRI unit, as you can see, does use that full back parking lot, and so that would have to happen off hours, which is typically what happens with the MRI unit delivery. It would happen early in the morning before business hours. So we do need that full back parking lot to deliver the MRI equipment. Could I have the next sheet? Oh, just some details. We can skip through those unless you want to revisit them. And then we have prepared a landscaping plan. Most of this is to comply with the PDA requirements for screening. The species are on the next sheet. They're all native or adaptive. We can elaborate on that if anybody's interested, but that will be part of the set as well.
Can we wait until they're done? I guess we'll wait. Yeah, I'll let you finish.
Yeah, I'll take the next sheet. Is there a lighting plan after this one? So again, doesn't show up so great on the screen, but those are the pole locations. The fixtures are called out somewhere. They're typical pole fixtures. Is it listed on the next sheet? Oh, it's at the bottom. Yeah, these are all LED pole fixtures. Pretty low watts, 400 watts. And if you'd like more information on that, we can talk about that as well. There are architectural drawings that were included in the set, both renderings of how the building would appear from Corporate Drive. I think they're towards the front of the set, actually. That might be a good place to go, just so everybody can envision it. It's a modern style building. Has a cantilever canopy. So that's looking from Corporate Drive, the image on the top. There's a cantilevered canopy that would come out. Sidewalk would be flush at that front entrance. Accessible parking spaces are just opposite. And then the image below it is towards the left. That's facing the other direction, International Drive. And I don't know if there's much to say about that. Again, it's kind of a modern style building. There is a cantilever on the second floor, which is a little unusual, but that's to maximize the floor area for this building.
Sure.
And this is looking at the top is again the front from Corporate Drive, and then the bottom image is from the back. It won't really look like that because that green area is full of trees, but if you can envision being inside the building looking out through the glass curtain wall, it will be very inviting. Look like a very natural environment. A lot of good light. That's all.
Thank you. All right, Peter.
I guess I can start. I'm glad you said that it was going to be full of trees. That was my question. It's not going to be like this mode.
No.
You're going to maintain it as
That image
vegetation?
is deceiving, and in fact, basically the limit of work is only a few feet off that retaining wall, and then it's natural from there. So you won't be able to experience the building like that image. But again, if you can picture yourself inside looking out through the glass, you'll see woods.
And so there's no landscaping plan for the interior, that area there. You're just going to leave it
Well,
natural, or?
the elbow, okay, so the green space here is completely untouched natural.
So, and I guess the question I have is, it's nice that you're not impacting the wetland or the buffer, but I'm wondering about the survivability of the wetland, or the condition of the wetland after the building's been there for a while. If you're going to leave it alone completely, it's still going to change having that building there. Have you thought about that at all, or do you have any long-term plans
Yep,
for that?
that's a fair question. My opinion, these wetlands are fed by the drainage outfalls in the parking lot that's already there. It seems pretty clear if you visit the site. Stormwater is coming out, and then you have these two-finger wetlands. What we're doing with our stormwater is to continue to direct it to the wetlands. We're by no means drying them out, cutting them off. So they'll still be fed with stormwater, just a little cleaner now. So we don't see any reason why it would change the ecology there. It should consist as it is now. It's not a wetland. I don't know if you walked it or not. It's my opinion on the cusp of actual wetland. I have some photos out there, and it was flagged, and it is, and we'll respect it. But it's not standing water.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes me wonder, you know, you almost could fill part of the wetland, use the site better, but then create a restoration area and make for a better wetland condition at the end.
So that was explored early on. Unfortunately, and Mike Bates can comment on this, there is, I don't know how to describe it, an unwritten rule that there's no additional wetland filling in the PDA. Mike, can you confirm or deny that?
Good afternoon, everyone. Michael Mates from the Pease Development Authority. Yes, Peter, when we first got the original concept from Dr. Slocum, there was over an acre of wetland impact and buffer impact. And I directed them to minimize. And through multiple iterations, we finally got to this kind of compromise, so that, you know, we could go to our board of directors and we could say to them, there is no wetland impact here, there is no wetland buffer impacts here. That is one of the main concerns that our board of directors has. And we would kind of prefer that necessarily to actually impacting anything and trying to get a wetlands permit and restore it. It's just kind of the direction we went.
Mm-hmm. We'll see how it does. Yeah. I mean, it could be a really nice feature inside the building there if it works out.
I think so too.
Yeah.
So you're able to do all that construction and excavation without with the end product being built right up to that buffer line without actually disturbing it?
So, for sure, a challenge. We have about 4 or 5 feet at the closest point, pinch point. So they're thinking scissor jack for construction in the back. Yes, and the PDA has requested that we install some type of chain link fence or snow fence along the buffer line to ensure that we stay out of it.
It was chain link. We've asked them to install that along the buffer line so you can't accidentally go into the buffer
Yeah.
During construction?
during construction.
Okay.
Same thing we've asked
They can
of.
remove that after, though?
Exactly.
Okay.
That would be a lot better than flags that get moved and covered over with mud and fill. Right.
Well, yeah, we're trying to be very careful here.
Make it easier for us too when we go out there to tell whether or not you guys are excavating in the buffer.
Right, I don't want to go back for an after-the-fact, wetlands permit or a Concom permit. That doesn't help anyone.
Okay.
There are some existing improvements that have to be removed from the buffer. Actually, you can see it on this drawing. If you zoom in, there's a light pole right at the tip of that middle finger. So there will be a removal of light pole and some pavement that's in the buffer.
And that is an allowable impact under our rules, to get stuff out of the buffer.
Pat?
In the paperwork, you described this as a medical office building. Will it not become an ambulatory health care? Will it be more than 4 people who are incapable of self-rescue at any given time during the entire building?
Not sure I can answer that question. Was there... Okay, well, we have the doctor right here. Dr. Slocum?
Sorry, everybody.
Here. Would you repeat that question for his benefit?
Sure. So in the paperwork, this is being described as a medical office building. We have a lot of those. The question is, would it become by code a ambulatory health care occupancy, which would happen if there were
Yes.
4 or more people incapable of self-rescue.
There's an ambulatory surgery center on the second floor, so.
And there would be at least 4 people?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. So that should just be cleared up in the paperwork.
The building permit application. In the building permit application, just describe, the use overall and what your plan is, and it'll help us with our review.
Yes, sir.
Additionally, for fire department access, because it's a 3-story building, you're going to need aerial apparatus access, which is required to be 26 feet. I believe you're showing 24 feet along the front. And then we would need to make.
Sorry, can you clarify, and that's what based my experience, can you clarify what you mean by that?
The width of basically of the travelway in front of the building, because that would be a fire lane. Based on the height of the building, it needs to have aerial access.
I think that wound up the way it is based on wetlands.
Yeah,
So
well, it would need
we'll have
to
to
be-
take a closer look at that.
We have a couple feet we can.
Yeah.
That would look at Appendix D of the 2018 IFC as far as apparatus access.
The thing that we're going to make sure that we pay attention to make sure that we comply with that, and what I think Dan was getting at is, in order to fit the footprint of the building between the wetlands and the side building setback, the first floor is more narrow, and then there's about an 8 to 10 foot overhang in the front. So we'll have to, I think, to satisfy that, we have to measure from the overhang, the 26 feet, because and, yeah, you can see it there on the overhang. So I'll make sure that we follow up at Apex for that.
And then the height of the overhang there needs just to meet the requirements in Appendix D, which, that actually might not be in Appendix D, that might be in Chapter 5 of the IFC.
That, the cantilever canopy?
Yes, yep. And I would just look at Appendix D, because it gets into a little bit more detail. Is it a minimum distance the fire lane has to be from the building, and a maximum distance it can be from the building, and then the actual required width.
And just, I don't know if you picked up on that, but this is not from the state fire code. This is from the IFC, which only Portsmouth has adopted.
Oh, that's,
There may be other municipalities that have, but it's not in the state fire code.
thank you. It's all in the details. We appreciate it.
Any comments from Public Works?
Yeah, small list.
Okay.
Did you explore using the sanitary sewer that's already on that side of the street in front of the building?
Yes,
TD it
yep.
and
We didn't.
Pull it out somehow? The city just spent a lot of money in the streetscape around that area, and
By elevation, it doesn't work.
okay.
So we did look at that.
The
'cause
city is going to
that's
require
closer.
you to overlay International Drive from where you're picking up the sewer to the intersection of Corporate, and then down Corporate Drive to where your curb improvements stop down by the driveway.
Yeah, mill and then pave again. That's what we're talking about. We'll cut and patch and then come back later and
Yep.
mill and overlay. Yeah.
Yep, curb to curb. Sidewalk along International doesn't go anywhere. We would prefer that it goes to the driveway of the federal building that's there, if possible. We'd also like you to look at the alignment, if it's going to remain there, so that it's not in the woods, so that it's closer to the road, and possibly behind the pole line that's there.
Which area are we talking about? Can you say that again?
International Drive.
Yes?
So actually, this applies to both sidewalks, actually.
Yep.
Both of them are shown way off the road.
Yes.
And we're not quite sure why you're so far off the road. I don't know if there's future improvement planned or something that you.
That's just where they are.
Asked you to be.
It's where, I think it has.
Yeah, that's just where they are today.
Mike, is that?
So we would prefer that they be closer to the road.
Excuse me, Dave?
Yeah?
Michael Maids from PDA again.
Hi.
Typically, we ask to keep the sidewalks about 7 feet off the curb line, just for pedestrian safety,
Yeah?
and that's just typical here at the.
Yeah, I know, Mike, they're like 20 feet off the road.
Okay, well then, I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
So the same comment as for corporate, we prefer that that proposed sidewalk is more or less right behind that bus shelter, over where the gas line is shown, and not way out back, and we prefer that you move that proposed tree line where the sidewalk's shown, so it's not underneath all the wires.
Okay.
Industrial discharge permit will be required, and that may include pretreatment of medical waste depending upon the classification.
And then to ride on that one, if there's food preparation on this site, it'll need a grease trap.
No food preparation.
Okay.
Okay, so there's no,
No, sir.
nothing,
Nope. Only what
not even a cafeteria.
people bring with them and take home.
Okay.
I mean, there's going to be microwaves and a sink in the break room, but no,
Okay.
no. If the only thing that we have briefly talked about, and I'm just bringing this up, is food trucks. But that's, those are mobile, and for that reason.
All right.
Fire service is currently shown in combination with the domestic service as one line. That's not allowed in the city of Portsmouth. You need to bring 2 water lines out all the way to the main, one for each. You'll need to provide a stormwater management plan. And we'll get you this list, so you don't have to try.
Okay, all right.
Thank you. That way you can pay attention.
Appreciate it.
So we're gonna wanna look at your pre-treatment before it goes into the wetlands.
Oh, no, we
Get
got,
notice while-
stormwater will be, we're on that for
Yeah,
sure.
no, I'm sure you are, but this is a preliminary meeting.
Oh, yeah,
so
no, got it,
just trying to
got it,
get everything out on the table
Yep.
so that you know, okay? The entrance drive off the International should have a catch basin before it gets to International, and that should get tied into that concrete inlet drain that's shown right by in proximity where you're running the new sewer line. Okay, so you're picking up the driveway flows before they get to International. We had on here about the truck turning templates, but I think you've explained that, and I think,
There was still a couple of comments on that.
okay,
On the truck turning plan, it shows the trucks making a left turn into the site from Corporate Drive or International Drive, but wouldn't they have a chance of making a right turn into the site as well? And the right turn radius of the driveway is really tight. Looks like it might be difficult.
We can show both movements.
Okay.
yeah. And then we had wide radius on Corporate Drive. Okay.
Yes, that's it.
Truncated dome tiles not required at driveway tip downs. No welded wire fabric will be allowed in the sidewalk that's in the right of ways. Okay, because it makes the sidewalk unreplaceable. You have to landfill it if there's something happens to it. So we don't allow that.
Okay.
You're showing concrete blobs underneath gate valves and for thrust blocks. We don't use those here. We use a patio block underneath the gate valves, and we use the 2x2x2 precast concrete blocks as thrust blocks. Please change your details so that they're appropriate. All valves and hydrants must open left and must say open left on the gate boxes. Okay? Need inverts on the drain manhole. Your sewer manhole and drain manhole connections are showing elastomeric pipe connections. You have to use rubber boots here in the city, and we require that the annular space between in the inside of the boot up to the inside face of the manhole gets cemented in. So your details need to be upgraded. Sewer manhole should follow the state standard, which is 2 rows of butyl rubber around at the joints. All sewer pipe and manholes should be pressure tested per DES regulations. Trees along Corporate, I already talked about. And the trees that are planted in the right-of-way must be approved by the city arborist for species and follow city planting standards. So that's our preliminary list, and I understand these are preliminary plans, but
Can I ask a question about the city arborist? When would be a good time? Like, should we go maybe talk to them now just to start
You
that
should,
conversation early?
you should juxtapose the sidewalk and the trees so they're shown right, so they don't flip out immediately, and then you can meet with them, yes.
Thank you.
One other comment about the truck, the MRI trailer, now that I understand that, but it still looks like it backs into that spot, but then how does it get out? It looks like it can't make the cab
So that
turn.
that's going to be like a once every 6 months to a year exchange. So we would work to schedule that at a time when there's, on the weekend when there's no cars there. That's purely to show that we can make that happen.
Yep.
There's not going to be anything happening really on that side of the site without significant advance notice and like probably every couple months at the most. So what we were anticipating them doing is pulling out, backing out, and then driving away.
Also, Eric, obviously, when you deliver the unit, you detach the truck.
Yeah.
Right,
before
so then
getting out of there.
it's easy to drive away, and then when you pick it up, you just back up
Back
to it.
in there.
Yeah. So, I mean, the only movement that really needs to be thought out is delivery. Because all the other movements, you're free to manipulate the truck portion.
Okay. And that rear lot with the 28 spaces in there,
Yes?
it's just, you need to do something at the end so that you don't fill all the spaces up and you drive down the end and find out there's no spaces. Just keep an area to turn around in the back at the end of that. I imagine that's going to be employee parking, but
24-foot drive, all that's not enough for just a three-point turn?
no, you need to be able to use a space to turn around in. Once you get over 7 spaces in an aisle, then you really can't see to the end of it and know if there's an open space without driving down.
Okay.
So just, it looks like you have more than enough parking. If you could just take those last 2 spaces and make them hatch them out so that no one parks in them. That would give you room to turn around in.
When you're looking at the sidewalk, can you fix that? Nobody walks that way, okay? It should be more or less like what's there now.
I think that is
So
what's
that's a nice
there
smooth
now.
path.
I think that is, I think I was on the site last week. I think that is what's right there,
But-
right now.
Oh, you
They
can
can
see
make
it.
it right.
It's actually on the survey. You can see the nice little arc that's there now.
Oh, okay.
And this is like way out here and like where nobody would ever walk.
Okay.
Okay?
I'll square it up.
Thanks. And just round it out so it's nice. Thanks.
Right here. Well, the whole sidewalk's gonna shift forward, so
Oh, okay, yeah.
it'll be good.
Is this outpatient only? Nobody's
sir.
staying overnight?
So as in surgery, you always want to prepare for the worst, make sure that you're able to handle whatever's needed. The plan is for, at the most, 1 patient at the most to do 23-hour, so 1 overnight stay. But technically, according to Medicare, it's not inpatient. So just that's our plan. So all outpatient with the ability to handle an overnight stay if needed for safety, basically.
I have a comment on your existing features plan too. There is an existing water main that runs along the entire frontage of the site, and you're not showing it. And you should show it so that the contractor is aware that it's there. It's concrete, it's AC concrete. So if you can add it to your existing features plan so it shows up on all the other ones, that'd be great.
The truck turning tempo appears to be a WB62.
Yes, I said WB50, didn't I? It is a 62.
I'm just wondering what happens if you get a WB67, the 53-foot trailer in there.
Doesn't work.
Are you
Well,
gonna be able to?
I mean, it doesn't work with the computer.
Yeah.
One of our engineers at Apex used to drive tractor trailers, and he's like, I can get it in there. I mean, it doesn't work on the computer, but it's also something where most of the deliveries that we're going to be getting are from box trucks. I like to over-engineer things and make sure that we can handle whatever we need to. So the fact that we're trying to accommodate a tractor trailer is overkill for anything that we would anticipate even needing to get a delivery from at some point. If that is the case, it's something that we'll communicate to people and just say, hey, make sure you don't show up with anything bigger than this.
Just got a little section of water line there.
Is your power coming from the underground system, or is it coming from the overhead system?
We're showing connecting to the utility poles, so starting from the overhead system.
Okay, even though you get underground power?
Let me take a look.
There's an electric manhole directly across from where you're showing the water connections.
No, I apologize. It does say connect underground electrical and tel data service to existing utility pole with risers.
Yep, so I get that. Just, PDA's been trying for years to get rid of the poles, and there's an underground system right there. So if you could look into that and see if it makes sense.
It would certainly be our preference, because we don't want overhead wires either. So if we can tie into the underground, that'd be great.
Yeah, there is underground electric and telephone manholes directly across the street from the driveway on Corporate.
Well, that's convenient.
Yeah, love it.
Do you all have any more questions for any of the committee members?
Well, thank you all for your time. Appreciate it.
All right. All right, thanks.
Get to work. When would we get your written comments, sir? Mostly just you.
Right now.
Paper airplane?
We added a few verbal, but.
Special delivery system.
Sorry for my informality.
No, thank you very much.
Sometimes that is.
Way more effective this way.
Yeah.
I'll make those edits.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
There he is.
All right, next up, we have Shearwater Drive.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon. Patrick Hermans with Ty and Bond. Also here with me on behalf of the applicant is Colton Gove. So we're here this afternoon for a proposed, it's a 9-lot subdivision, single-family houses off Shearwater Drive. It's an existing 2.2-acre parcel. It fronts on Shearwater. The back of the property is along Market Street, and then it kind of extends down towards the corner of Portsmouth Boulevard and Shearwater. You can see here on the site plan, we've situated 9 single-family homes within the site and provided driveways that will allow for parking in the driveways and space in the driveway itself. We're not seeking any relief for this project. It is all by right. The project itself, if you go to the next sheet, is actually reducing impervious surface as proposed from what is existing. I should have mentioned that at the beginning. This site previously housed 5 duplexes, a 4-unit, and also a 6-unit building that were recently demolished. They no longer exist. But with the proposed project before you, we are proposing to actually reduce impervious surface. Drainage patterns will all be maintained for existing. You can see there's a pipe that runs out from Shearwater Drive to Market Street, so we're proposing to relocate that to avoid any conflicts and continue that flow path out to Market Street to maintain that. All of their flow patterns will be mimicked as well. Around the houses, we're proposing some drip strips, so there will be infiltration for the houses themselves. That'll be stone that's wrapped in fabric under the ground. For utilities, next sheet, we are in the process of coordinating with Eversource and Unitel for will serve letters and services, which we hope to include when we submit formally for TAC to you guys. Water, as I mentioned, there were existing structures out here. The hope is that we could reuse those services, which is what is shown here on this preliminary plan. We will work through those details and look forward to any feedback from staff on that. And then lastly, we are showing, the new sewer services for this house along Shearwater. Most of that pipe that exists is PVC, but on the east side, up towards the last two houses or so, that's a clay pipe. So we're proposing to replace that piece of pipe with PVC for the houses, the new houses that would tie into that. I think that's really it in a nutshell. It's a pretty straightforward project. Like I said, it's all by right, 9-lot subdivision. We did include an architectural prototype package in there just to give some examples of houses that could be used on the site. That's for demonstrative purposes, excuse me. And the intent would be, obviously, as these properties are purchased, the owners would have to select a house that fits within the setbacks. So, happy to take any questions.
Thanks. Questions, comments?
My computer froze up here, but these have basements?
Yeah, the hope is to have basements, yeah. In fact, a number of the buildings towards the west already did have basements. You can see there were holes out there when they were demolished. As you get east, the rock does get a little higher, so we'll probably have to remove some rock. But the intent would be to include basements, yes.
And then, what do they, can you get daylight drain, or is it somehow, or do they get pumped out, or how does the dewatering of all the?
So with the pumping, if we need to pump, we will. We'll look at the grade to see if it's the ability to tie into the existing drainage system that runs out right now in terms of outside. It's likely, with those basements, we would have to include some kind of pump that would go into the stormwater system.
Right, okay.
But you saved it to the guy.
Is there consideration for making any of these duplexes? It looks like some of them have
No.
an awful lot of areas.
These would be single family, yep. There.
Patrick, we already talked to you about a bunch of things, and I appreciate you showing them. Peter had a couple of comments when we went over it with him yesterday.
Okay.
Wherever possible, the sidewalk that you're replacing out there should have a grass strip in the
Okay.
curb.
Okay.
In some areas, you're replacing the sewer, so you're taking out some of the trees anyway.
Yep.
So if we can make some of that happen, that'd be great.
Okay.
He did want a concrete sidewalk out there, not asphalt, okay?
Okay.
Any old water service taps that are less than an inch can't be reused, they need to be reconstructed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then if they're not used, they have to be shut off at the main, as you would expect.
Yep.
There's an existing drain pipe that crosses the property on the 5th lot.
Okay.
I'll get to it myself. So, looks like both drains actually go through that house that's got the 5th lot house. And there's one drain that's a yard drain that goes out to Market Street.
Yep.
And then there's another drain that goes out to Market Street for the road.
Yep.
We need an easement for the one that's crossing the road that's the city drainage,
Sure.
okay?
Yep.
And then the other one, instead of going all the way out to the road, maybe you could, because that pipe, we think, is galvanized steel and it's probably rotted.
Yep.
And if you need a drain there, you could pipe it to the other drain,
Okay.
possibly, and abandon that and cement it up in the road on Market Street where it comes through.
Okay.
That was it. Everything else we talked about.
Thanks.
241 plan for phased occupancy or nothing, because they're all kind of
Narrow, separate.
public roads.
Yeah,
It doesn't
public
matter.
road, yeah.
Any other comments? No.
Great. Appreciate your time. We're going to be submitting for TAC this month, so we'll see you guys in early September. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
All right. That's all our business, so we'll adjourn.
That's all of our business?
That's all of our business today.
Great.